Welcome to the Be Dadly podcast, where we discuss all things dadly, from being an entrepreneur while caring for toddlers to raising screenagers and talking the birds and the bees. We're here to help you traverse the vast and dynamic landscape of fatherhood. Enjoy practical advice, lots of puns, and even a few heart-touching moments.
And the dad jokes are pretty good too.
And now your host, Brandon Jones.
And just like that, we are back, folks. Welcome back to the Be Dadly Show. I am Brandon Jones, your host. Today, I'm with Johnathon Morales. Johnathon is a friend of mine, new friend. He's a realtor, father of a 10-year-old named Jayden. And I met him through a friend of ours named Travis. And we were at Travis's birthday. And I just happened to notice he had a little tattoo on his arm. It's such a good tattoo, by the way. I'm going to make sure that the photo is in here on the description. But it says on there in his son's handwriting, "I love my dad." And then in his handwriting, "I love my son." And it's a really, really beautiful tribute to you as a father. And then when you found out I was a father coach, you were like, "Oh, dude. You have no idea. I love being a dad."
Yeah, man. It was just whenever we first met. It was at Travis's birthday party. Great guy. We use him for all of our photography and stuff. But as soon as it was immediate, whenever we started talking, I was like, "There's no way that somebody else understands kind of like, the same ins and outs of, being a dad." And I was just like, I was blown away. So, and then you ask about all this and, Be Dadly. And now I'm on the Facebook and everything. It's super awesome what you're doing, man.
Oh, thank you, brother. Yeah, well, it's awesome to see and meet a committed dad like yourself. And I mean, I saw your eyes lit up when you were like, "Oh, being a dad? Oh, that's everything
talk
to
about
me."
some stuff?
You're like, "Oh, I've got so much to share."
Yeah, man.
I love being a dad. And one of the things I remember you mentioning was like just how involved and like how he's everything to you. And tell us about some of that. Like, what does that mean whenever you say like, "Man, like my son is everything," and the kind of time that we spend together is the best? Like,
yeah, that's a big question. But essentially, he was my life changer. My life was completely different, before I found out I was going to be a father. And, I'm assuming that a lot of other dads can relate. It's a big, like, okay, especially, it's number one, I'm going to be a dad. And, whenever I made that connection, I was like, oh my God. I remember I was in the shower and I was like, I'm going to be a dad. Oh my God. Okay. All right. I got to change some things. I got to structure some things. And, from the moment he was born, we were inseparable. It was just, I'd worked like 3 jobs at the time. And as soon as I'd come home, it was just me and him. And then every second I wasn't working, I was playing with my son. And then that turned into, quickly, they're 1 month, 10 months, and then they're talking. He was, just talking immediately. And so that was a lot of fun. And we were, getting to know each other essentially, me, showing him and him, reacting and trying to figure out what he likes and his dislikes and things like that. Thank goodness he wasn't one of those, screaming, crying, and just, I think there's a lot to that as well, on the parenting side, but, just a lot of effort, and so he quickly became my best friend. We would immediately things that I liked, he liked some things, he didn't like some things, what have you, but we just enjoyed the company, and we would just went and did everything together that we possibly could. He's been, to this day, my best friend. We were dancing and singing on the way to school this morning. It's so much fun to be around my best friend and my son. And it's a lot of back and forth, There's a lot of coaching involved, and there's a lot of mistakes, and you got to learn and try and guide them as much as you can. But it's also a lot of learning, from both sides. I don't know what it's like to be a 10-year-old in 2022, so I learn a lot from him. I learn a lot from him. Yeah. And, we just come together and like I said, whatever the issue or the topic is at the time, we're just spitballing back and forth, and we're laughing, and we're like giving each other opinions. So it's very much, and he's also, like he's 10, but I say to everybody, I said, he's 10, he's going on 25.
Right.
He's learning to speak 3 languages, and he's been doing that since he was like 6. He builds his own video games, he codes and everything. It's just mind blowing what he's into that I get to be a part of. So that to me is, in a nutshell, just everything, learning from each other, enjoying each other, spending as much time as we possibly can, going out and exploring and doing things together. It's just the best.
Man, two things, and I really loved how you mentioned, I don't know what it's like to be a 10-year-old in 2022. That, I don't know, something when you said that, it burst in my consciousness like, whoa, that's a realization. Like, I haven't even considered that.
Yeah, man.
2022, the world is very, very different from when we were 6 years old, 10 years old, going through those phases. And now they're here, and man, I really appreciate that. It makes me feel a little bit more humble, and I need to actually think about it. It's like, man, it's so easy for us to think it's like we, that they're going through the same world. It's really not.
It's so wildly different. It's just it's night and day. Whenever I tell them, I'm 35.
Yep,
I don't feel like an old dad. I don't feel like we're kids. We're in that kind of. I think we got into the right spot, at least for me. He was 25 and I was, learning all sorts of things about myself as well. And, I joke with him all the time and, he calls you, okay, boomer or whatever,
Yeah.
And I say,
to his 35-year-old
exactly.
dad.
And I was like, I can remember almost, things that I was doing. And I was like, when I was 10 years old, I was digging a hole. Literally, that's what my entertainment was. I wondered how far of a hole I could go outside and dig.
Yeah.
So I did that all day.
Right.
I dug a hole.
I remember doing that.
And I rode my bike. I was big into BMX and all sorts of, action sports and stuff like that, but not until a little bit later. But 10 years old, that was, and I didn't even, 3 languages and computers weren't really a thing and all this stuff. So it's just a completely different world that they live in that we are also learning, how to be a part of it.
Man, that's so interesting. Yeah, I actually literally remember digging a giant hole, and our parents, I had my friends all involved. I recruited a bunch of us, and they actually got to a point where they were like, actually, guys, you got to stop.
Right.
And we're like, what? No, we've been, working this. They're like, yeah, it's actually getting kind of dangerous because we started going in it.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was like, if this falls
yeah,
and you guys come to try to run home, whoever's underneath there could die.
So you guys were smart. You had a team.
Yeah.
You were doing all the things. It was just me. And I dug the hole. I took a water bottle, and I can remember it clear as day. I dug the hole, and I looked up, and I was like, well, how am I going to get out? And that's a real story. I'm sure there's a saying or something like that, don't dig a hole
that you can't get
out of. They 100% did that when I was a kid.
You dug your own well.
Dug my own well.
And I'm in the bottom of the well.
I
happen to make it.
Yeah. So, it was just, like I said, it was wild. I had no parents home. I had 2 older sisters that weren't home. Wow. It was just me, home alone, roughly 9 or 10 years old. The times were different,
Totally.
You could go and spend.
And we're only 35 and times were different.
It's crazy.
Wow.
I think it's a quick, communication and technology and all that stuff is just completely different,
Yeah, no, it's such a good point. Yeah. I also remember we used to be able to actually, like, there was an honor system with things. Mm-hmm. Even when I was 16, I got my license. Mm-hmm. You could still fill up gas before you paid.
Yeah. Oh,
we didn't pay before we filled up gas. We filled up gas, then paid. Today, it's no one does that.
Yeah. So, back to the whole different, before my son was born, completely different person, didn't have anybody to tell me no. Let's just put it that way, so I could do things that I probably shouldn't have been doing because I didn't have anybody to say, this is probably a bad idea or this is a good idea. Not a lot of hands-on, parenting in that aspect. So it was mainly growing up with my friends and my friends' parents kind of giving me that parental advice, but at the same time, I wasn't their kid. So, it was different, but, I had people, offer to take me in and stuff like, that's how it was, unfortunately, for me.
Yeah.
And so whenever he was born, from, like I said, that moment, I was like, I'm going to be a dad. And I was like, I'm going to be the best dad that I could have ever imagined. And and that's a lot of people, they didn't grow up the way that they wanted to.
So shed a little light on that for us, because you've alluded to that now, but also I've kind of heard a little bit from you personally. You had a unique childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. So no dad, mom was there, without, being too whatever. It wasn't the best. But like I said, it was very, very much the friendship that I bonded with my friends at the time, brothers, and, that's your brother, and then your parents, their parents become your parents, you're staying at their house and they're feeding you and, they're clothing you sometimes. And so it was just one of those, like I said, it was not ideal, but the more, other dads that I talked to and other people that have kids, it's not uncommon. They all kind of have that thing where, maybe they didn't have the best childhood. And this is maybe one little, reason why they're a great parent, because they know how rough it is to not have a parent.
Totally.
And so, so it's just really, it's up to a decision that you have to make, and it's also scary not having people like family or friends that are like-minded that also, can kind of, talk with. So that's why this Be Dadly group is just fantastic for people like myself that don't have a lot of other friends, here or what have you, or family to rely on, So it's just kind of you reading all the books and kind of using your best judgment as a parent to raise your child in this world. So it's scary, but at the same time, it's a choice. And that's why, I was really excited whenever you had me come on here, and I was so excited to meet you at Travis's birthday.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. I wonder if there's like something in our DNA that says I must be better than my father, or I must be better than my mother.
I think that's no matter what you went through, there's always that comparison.
You're like, I've got to try to be better to my kids than my family was.
But that's who you look up to, right? You've looked up to this person for everything, from the very, very beginning. They are the mold that you personally know and you're following, and you're learning from them. You say, "Oh, my dad did it this way, so I'm going to do it."
They're
this
that
way.
benchmark for
you.
Exactly.
And that's why everybody's, my, kids are sometimes awful, but they're like, my parents did this, and what have you. But that you did that, at one point.
Yeah, and I know my father did it too, and I assume his father most likely felt the same way. It was like, I'm going to do some things better than my father did. And it's not like a, one-upmanship. It's literally like you want better for your kids than you had.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really what it is. And then, was it you? Yeah, I think it was you that said prehistoric times. Mm-hmm. That's what, you worked with your family.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
You worked.
The pre-industrial age. Yeah.
You worked with your family. If your dad was a blacksmith, you were a blacksmith.
That's right.
Right. That's what you said.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you grew up in a family of bakers, you were working in the bakery.
Right.
Like that's what you were going to do.
Right. And so that's your bubble. Mm-hmm. And then it wasn't until industrial, right, comes along, and then now you don't have to rely on your parents anymore, and then that kind of creates that friction of, well, I'm making more money, or I know something different that he doesn't, or what have you. So then that starts. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think, one of the things I was mentioning about that is like, I think we live in a modern age where, and I hate to say it, it's going to sound weird, but it's like modern neglect. Okay. And here's what I mean. So pre-industrial age, you live on a farm, or you live out even if you lived in a town, you live with your family and you work in their business, and your father teaches you things, and your mother teaches you things like integrity and honesty, and how we cooperate and how we make deals with people and how we handle our business and all of these things. And you learn firsthand, not like, oh, dad teaches you a lecture on the way to school and then goes off and does what he says he does.
Right.
No, you actually witnessed him doing these things. And then industrial age comes on. They sell everybody this dream. They say, hey, you come to the factories, you'll never have to experience famine again. You're going to live a great life. Your children are going to go to the best schools. We're going to bring everybody together, all this stuff. So they sell you the dream. And then all of a sudden, now families and children are separated for most of the day. Dads are working, moms are working, and they're working really long hours. And then they spend just a few hours with the kids. Now, at this point, it was mostly dads were going to work and moms were staying home with the kids.
Those days, yeah.
Yeah, so dad's out of the house now. By the time he gets home, most time the kids are either going to sleep or, it's like a really long day. You know, they're not going to get much time with them.
Exactly.
And so now, if you fast forward to where we're at now, yes, we don't work 12-hour days in factories anymore. That's true. However, what we do is we go to work and we are removed from our children. They don't witness us making deals or talking to people or negotiating things or using our virtues and values out there in the world, in a way that they can literally model. And then when we get home, some of us are going on Netflix, we're going on the computer, we're scrolling on our phones, we're doing all these things. There are there's so many videos of kids that are slapping their parent in the face. Yeah. And I'm actually going to make a video on this on Instagram where I'm reacting to it.
Yeah.
Because you just see like the parent, they're scrolling, slap, and so many of these videos, what I've noticed is when I see the trend of them, the parent is ignoring the child.
Oh, yeah.
The dad is sitting there or the mom is sitting there and the child has said numerous times, mom or dad, or they've tried to get their attention in other ways.
Yeah.
And because they're being ignored, they finally just smack them in the face.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think kids should do that.
I mean, it's a cry for attention,
It's a cry for attention. And I think it's a form of that modern neglect I'm talking about. Because if you imagine how much time people are actually getting, quality one-on-one time with those kids, if we look back in history, it's fractions upon fractions upon fractions of actual quality time to teach our kids morals, virtues, and values.
Right.
And we think they're going to get it from school. School's a joke. And kids are sitting in there going, this is a joke.
Literally words that my son have said. It's just, and it goes from, and we can talk about that in a second, but back to the whole paying attention. It's just, when you get off of work, just like you said, and you're just immediately cool. It's a routine. And that's a routine. That's something that I noticed early on that had to be broken. Mm-hmm. That was a routine, school, snack, screen, TV, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, it's time for bed. Mm-hmm. What'd you do with them? What'd they learn? They didn't learn really too much at school other than, Tyler was mean to Sarah or whatever it was. That's what they learned.
They learned the dynamics. I mean,
you
kids
know,
can certainly learn stuff at school, but it's still it's not modeling virtues and values,
right.
and a lot
exactly.
of it's didactic
what I'm getting at,
too.
Yeah. And so that's what I've learned. I've asked Jayden, I said, hey, we do this game. What's 3 things, that impacted your day today? After school, every day I pick him up. What's 3 things? Mm-hmm. And he's like, and sometimes they're, school related. Sometimes they're how this person acted and how it made him feel. Mm-hmm. We just that immediate, hey, dad's here to pick me up. He already knows the routine, right? So he's already thinking preemptively, I got to come up with 3 things that's going to, make dad stop asking me, what's that? Because it's like, because he'll be like, I had broccoli today. Like, that's not something,
right.
And so we get 3.
Yeah.
And so that's been fun. But then that was a routine that he got used to versus the other routines. I co-parent with his mom. Mm-hmm. And so you see, that's the only other person that I can see who affects him other than, my long-term partner, who he calls stepmom and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I can pick and choose and see, other people's way of doing things, and I create my own version. And so that's something that, I encourage all dads to do, is to kind of create something that is unique to just the dad and the son, that can be your routine just immediately, to kind of, break that routine of just school, snack, cool. I don't know how you're feeling today or what's going on. Stuff like that. The next routine is after, 3 facts, we get a snack, and then we go home. We immediately do homework together. That's something that we do. And, he's 10, so he's in 5th grade. So most of his homework, it's pretty fun.
Right.
Like, I enjoyed it. I'm like, because some of them are
sharp.
They're not that too hard.
And
I'm enjoying the 5th grade, homework. 7th, 8th grade, once it gets up there, we're gonna have to relearn some things.
Absolutely.
And
I remember going back through my son's algebra and stuff, and I'm like, I'm having to relearn some of this a little bit. I remember, I know basic algebra for sure.
Yeah.
It's like, but when we're starting to, try to frame this out and plot certain things,
I excelled in math. I mean, I was doing calculus in like 9th grade or something.
Nice.
So I mean, I was like, I got this. And then the moment you're tested, you're like, oh, maybe I didn't retain that information.
Right.
But so what I'm getting at is I enjoy spending as much time, whether it's his homework or, if he wants to go somewhere after school, or the weekends, I plan as many outings as possible. And that was always my big gift to my son was everything in the city of Austin we are going to do. And we're going to find the things that we love and we're going to keep doing. And then, we've been here for 10 years. He's been here since he was 1. He was born in Fort Worth, but we immediately came down here. So we've had 10 years to know the city, and we do everything, a lot of hiking, a lot of trails, and mainly water parks and stuff like that. He's a big water guy. But just that's the gift, that we can give is just being present. Be present with them, learn from them, enjoy their time.
It's the best gift.
It's the best, man. And, if you don't get along well, or, maybe you're in a weird co-parenting issue, which there's a lot of, dads that I know that, that unfortunately their child is torn between, how to do things and react to certain ways, But, it's a process that you have to really do. I myself have been through a lot of classes, some, books and things like that I took up on my own. Some were completely unrelated that I've had to learn how to be a better version of myself so that I can even process and not deal, but, not be so aggressive or
manage.
Yeah.
That's why anger management, one of the things they talk about is it's called anger management.
Yeah,
You're not going to get rid of anger.
Exactly.
You're going to experience it. It's not like you're going to become like all this like peaceful Jedi monk.
It's not, no.
It's not how it works.
And
I
want everybody to know that, nobody's perfect.
Exactly.
Nobody's perfect. Nobody expects you to be perfect. You're going to make as many mistakes as possible, but as long as you have that desire to be a little bit better than you were the day before, then that's all anybody can do, and nobody really told me that, ever. Right. So I was just beating myself up like, oh, I lost it. Oh, I should have raised my voice. I shouldn't have done that. And then, okay, so next day, figure out, why. And so, like I said, I had to take some classes, not anger management classes, but for an unrelated thing. But in those classes, they have so many techniques for you to, when you notice a trigger or, remove yourself and take some breaths and think about, once you start to see a trigger, right? You already know that's coming. So you just figure that out before anything. So then it's all these steps that you can do that can help you, with your parenting, because ultimately if you're screaming at your kid because he's doing or she's doing something you don't like, then it's not really getting through. And then, they're just scared at that point. They're not really.
I think you're bringing up a really good point because you were saying, how much you enjoy your kid. And I remember I love my son, Sheldon. We had so much fun. And then it started when the behavior challenges were getting really bad and they were becoming kind of routine. There was resentment that was building up between him and me.
Right.
And I realized, obviously, one day I was like, okay, who's going to break the resentment? Is he going to be like, Dad, I've been thinking. Right. No, he's not. He's not going to come to me.
Hey, so I had a moment to myself in my room. I was reflecting. Yeah. And here's what I think we should talk
I think I was a little harsh on you. Like, no, my child's not going to break the pattern of resentment.
Right.
And it goes both ways. Like, you've been punishing them. Now they're resentful. And then, you're resentful because you're like, well, if you would behave, I wouldn't have to be a jerk, Right. And so you get into that cycle. By the way, I don't condone punishment. And that's what I used to do. Yeah. I'm a big, big advocate for discipline, which is different.
Absolutely.
And because discipline's about teaching. Even the root of the word is like disciple, think disciplina,
right?
Which is the Latin of it. So anyway, so you're bringing up something interesting about this resentment thing and about the fact that, we're not perfect, and we need to model for our children that human beings aren't perfect. So that they don't expect themselves to be perfect either and become quickly defeated by the fact that, hey, guess what? You're human and you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And so modeling that, I like what you were saying about the triggers and about basically like knowing. And in the course, in the Dadly Discipline course, we have a portion of it's about implementation intentions, because my background is in habit coaching. So an implementation intention is basically getting a little bit of ahead of a trigger and using a win-then format.
Yeah.
So when then is an algorithm,
Yeah.
right? And so if I get a little bit ahead, it's like, hey, one of the things that happens is that when my son is ignoring my request and stays glued to the TV after I've asked him 4 times to do something, I blow up. So now I have the frame. Okay. So
Yep,
now I've got it.
exactly.
I've got that frame.
Exactly.
There it is. That's the moment. So now I'm away from that moment, not in that moment because I can't do anything while I'm in it. I'm away from that moment. And I'm going to create an implementation intention, which is a way that I'm going to behave when the trigger happens.
Exactly.
When my son ignores my request, then I will calmly and politely walk over to the TV and hit pause.
Yep.
And say, hey, I
This
don't know
is
if you noticed.
identical to these steps and processes that we learned in this class.
And what is this class? Do you mind sharing?
I mean, it was a class that
you're giggling. It's so not related, but you found a way to
related.
apply it.
And this is and that transpires to your children. So it's allowed me to, like I said, work on myself, and then that in turn has transpired to my son, who has noticed this and asked about this, and he uses it at 10 years old.
Wow.
And I wish that this, exactly what you're describing, it's a different class altogether, but it's the same exact principle. Nobody really gets that education.
Yeah.
And I wish everybody did at some point, because then that would save them from a world of going down maybe it's the wrong path or different decisions.
Right.
And it's just about, these processes that you can do that would ultimately can save so much, heartache and all sorts of stuff like that. But just like you said, I don't, it's helped out tremendously in my personal life, in my relationships, in my job. And it's just simple things like that where I already know what's going to upset me. So if I can plan for those and notice whenever my body starts to feel that way, if I'm getting hot, if I'm getting sweaty, if I'm getting lack of breath, all these,
those
preemptive things, right?
Yep.
Notice those, right? And then at a calm time, figure out other options of when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then see how that goes.
And try one.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, you're not going to create one in the moment because
your
not at all. Prefrontal cortex is shut down.
You're not figuring all this out. It's taken months of working on this, actually working on. Not just saying you're going to work on it,
right?
Actually working on it
Yeah.
for it to get as a routine. Like I said, another routine that now it's part of your daily life, right? And it's reduced. I have anxiety. I've had stress. I have all these things that I'm not a big take medication person just because I don't like the way it makes me feel.
Yeah.
But I have, gotten to some heavy, deep, relaxation techniques and all these other things that are doing wonders.
Absolutely.
And this is things that parents should need. They need this because, when you blow up or you're having a stressful day, what do? Your first vice or whatever that is. Or, or you know what, just go watch TV. I need some time to scroll and turn my brain off. And that's one thing you'll hear, across the board. I need to turn my brain off.
A lot of really unhealthy ways to deal with that.
Yeah,
stress.
exactly. And guess what? That's what your kids are seeing.
Yeah, you're modeling that.
Yeah. And so, that was the thing. Jayden, whenever he was younger, he'd be like, I just need some time to turn my brain off. And I was like, where did you hear that? And so I was like, how about let's go turn your brain on?
Yeah.
Let's go in the car. Let's go, to Zilker or, wherever, Twin Fall, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's go turn our brain on.
And that's such a good point too. Like, you're not saying it explicitly, but the change of environment.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with little ones too. You're having a meltdown. You're having this moment. Change the environment. Change the sensations.
Absolutely.
And one of the ways you can do it, let's say that you're coming home. Well, I can't take my kids, wherever every single day. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, touche. Doesn't mean you can't change the environment.
Exactly.
A little bit of incense, some low playing music. I'm not saying you got to go woo. You don't.
Well, see, that's been my
You don't have to go completely woo, but you can change that ambiance.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been, I move things around. If I've got something that's at 5:45, I got a call or whatever it is. I've got a showing for a client or whatever. I will physically call that person, move that meeting, move this over here so that me and Jayden can go and do something outside the house, maybe outside, or we have got an activity. I don't need to be bothered. I've had several, and this is probably not good for, being a realtor, but I'll say it's, my son, he's very important, and I'll bring him to showings with me. He's amazing. But that's all part of spending time and bringing him into my world. And he does see, I'm fortunate where I can bring him to those things. Not all parents can bring their kids to work, every time they need to. But, he sees me interact with clients, and he sees me interact with, professionalism and things of that nature. And it's been a world of benefit for him, to see that firsthand. That's my dad. My dad is killing it over here. My dad handled this way. And then we have a discussion about it and we're like, well, son, sometimes, this. And so there's just a lot of information, but it's all good, positive, reassuring, and process thinking and things of that nature. So it's really changed who he is. So, he's got some great friends, and I'm not, saying anybody's got bad kids or anything like that. But I think that the one-on-one time that I've spent with him is just the way, and his mom too. Everybody's got their influences. His stepmom, all these influences, and they're all really, really great. So all of us have, made that time to spend one-on-one and to answer those questions, and to really be there whenever they're just wondering, like, oh, because then guess what else they get? Everything that's on here. Everything that's on the computer.
Yeah, there's so many other influences coming out.
And they're not good, you know? And you can't, unfortunately, like I said, different time, you can't restrict them. You're not going to save them from everything.
Oh,
you can take away everything, their Xbox, their laptop, their phone, everything. You take away, and that's the norm now. Did you know this?
What?
Every 10-year-old has an iPad, a cell phone, a computer, a PC gaming computer, a Switch, all these things. I thought I was spoiling my son. I thought because, I wanted him to have all the things, right? That I never owned a video game console.
I know, me neither. I lived so vicariously through my son with video games because we did not even have a Nintendo. I remember at one point, and I was like in middle school, and my cousin or somebody had handed us down like a Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
And we were over the moon.
Yeah.
It was so outdated by the time we got it. I was like, you want to come over to my house, play Nintendo 64? And they're like, no. What are you talking about? No, we're not doing that.
Do you get your Sega handheld?
Sega Genesis. Let's go. Like, they're like, no, we don't play that anymore.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a different time than we grew up, right?
Right.
And so they have all these influences. I remember what really changed me in about when he was like 3 or 4 years old. That was my favorite years. I don't know why. It's because they're still little and you need to do all this stuff.
I've got videos.
Oh man,
so precious.
That's what. So everybody's looking at my Instagram or my Facebook, and it's literally all I do is post about me and Jayden's like adventures. That's all I've ever done. Sometimes I'll post like, oh, look at this new trail, I'm mountain bike riding or whatever. But like 85-90% of it is just me and Jayden. And I can share that with, my friends because that's my family. And, I've got some family in Texas and California. But it was just, essentially, I wanted to track, I wanted those to always be there, to show and just to have. But I forgot where I got lost on that. But what I was getting at.
You thought that you were spoiling your son.
Yeah, I thought I was spoiling him with all these things. And then I remember... before that, when he was like 3 or 4, he was watching videos of other families doing family activities. And that broke my heart because it was essentially just me and him. I was like, well, that is rough to deal with. And then at the same time, I was like, okay, well, maybe he's seeing, these are all positive things, but then I was like, oh, okay. So at that time, I realized I need to step my game up. We need to start going outside of Austin. All right, so now's the time. He's old enough. Take him with me. He doesn't need, all the things that he used to when he was younger. And then that's what really started the venturing out. And so that was more of the hands-on with him. And then that was great. But then, he wants this new Switch that came out. Cool, Christmas. Cool. Cell phone. What do you need a cell phone for?
Right.
But then at the same time, I was like, does he need a cell phone? I was like, it would be nice to, text him whenever he's at
Right.
his mom's, instead of having to go through his mom and stuff like that. So I was like, here's your cell phone. Then he got he's always been into gaming, Roblox and Minecraft and all that stuff. So I was like, okay, well, if he's in a game, I want him to be able to game like really good. Okay, here's your thousands of dollars PC gaming console.
Yep.
Oh, you want to do YouTube? Cool. Got your mic, got your camera, got your lights. He's 10. He looks his room looks like he could be a professional YouTuber. Like,
I'm like relating so hard right now.
it's
I have no idea.
But at the same time, my thing was, we don't want our kids to compare their personal lives with other kids, because then that becomes that whole, you're better, I'm better, what have you. You have to coach that and say, hey, everybody's got their own things. And then I'm looking at his room and I'm like,
We did the thing.
did I do it? Did I overdo it?
Right. I overdid this.
Whenever you have to buy the USB port, just to plug
just
up
about all
this,
the devices.
This. I'm like, I have a cell phone and a laptop.
Right. My kid's over here with a full desk. He's got the lights set up.
He always
He's got
had
a
an
full
iPad.
studio.
Yeah, he has a 100% full studio. He made a video last night. We put the backdrop up like we're doing it. He's doing the online gaming thing. Ozarix, don't look it up. It's fine. I'm just kidding.
He's got the Elgato streaming deck.
It's insane. But so that when I realized these things, I was like, okay, well, I need to make sure that he understands that these weren't rewarded. I didn't reward you with these things. I didn't, I wanted you to feel, the way that he was looking at his comparison, and that was my internal dialogue, was he was watching all these families do all the things, and this kid had this, and this kid was on the Switch, and he's, how they watch other videos. I'm sure 1,000 parents are like, I can't believe I let my kids watch other kids play, and you're like,
it was mind-boggling to me that a kid would want to watch someone else play. When I was a kid, I was like, give me the controller.
Yeah, exactly.
I want my turn.
That's what I feel the same.
How?
I'm like, Jayden, what do you want the game?
Play, or
do you want to get? I'll get
somebody?
you the game. Do you like to see this cruise? You want to take a cruise? Stuff. He's like, no, I'm just checking it out. I'm like,
Just watching someone else do it.
But back to the stuff, the stuff,
Yeah.
and so it was very much like a tool for me to use his cell phone, his iPad, his Switch, all these things. Take care of them. This is a good learning process for as you get older, whenever things are, you earn things, or the value of things. He broke his cell phone, or he broke his iPad a million times when he was younger, because he's a kid, he's dropping it, even though he got all this stuff. So his cell phone, right? That's a big tool that he's gonna probably have for a while, and I don't know what the way things are going, but he, his cell phone screen shattered, right? He was like, oh God. I was like, Jayden, where's your cell phone? He's like, I don't know. I don't know. I was like, okay, well, we need to find it. He's like, okay, I'll look for it. A couple days go by. I can't text him anymore. And that's the whole reason why I got it, is FaceTime and text and all that stuff. And then he's like, okay, Dad, I didn't show you. I broke it because I know that that's not something, and you're not going to get me another one. And I was like, you're 100% right. I told you a million times you have to take care of these things. And so when it came time, this was a few weeks ago, I said, Jayden, do you want me to get your phone repaired? And I was thinking I could use this as like another learning tool or what have you. Because everything, to me, that's what I'm saying. Everything has to be something they can learn from.
Everything's a learning moment, for sure.
But you can do that, but you have to, put the time in to do so. And I don't think, a lot of people get that. Everything that I'm doing in my brain, I don't know if I got ADHD or whatever, but my brain goes 50,000 miles an hour. So I'm thinking about other things. And every single little moment that you're doing with your kid is a chance for them to see, this is what Dad did, and that's really great, and I really like how to do that. An example, and so he puts these together, and the more you do them, he comes to me often. Like I said, he's 10 going on 25. He talks about how that could make them feel. Maybe that was probably not the right call, and all these things, and I use those daily. So he comes to me and he says, hey, I don't want you to get my phone repaired. And I was like, why? He said, because, well, I don't deserve it. And I was like, whoa, okay. Now, first of all, it's scary in two ways because then you don't want to make him feel bad, But at the same time, he did learn the value of what that is. I said, okay, you sure? He's like, I'm just going to break it again. He's like, I don't really use it that much. He's like, if I need you, I know how to get a hold of you. We email. He emails. He has an email. He emails me,
My 10-year-old sending me emails.
He does. It's amazing. I'll be working, and his little, hey Dad, what's going on? I was like, oh my God, I love this. So I'm excited. It gives me happiness on my work day.
Totally.
But so he said, don't get it repaired. He's like, just turn the line off. I don't deserve it. I'm gonna break it anyways. Same thing with the Switch. He's like, I'm gonna take good care of this, and he has. His iPad, mint condition. His new PC, perfect. And it's teaching him all these things that one little conversation about a cell phone transpires to his room, transpires to his manners, to his responses and outlooks towards other people, and all these things where he's trying to make the best decision because he knows the opposite end of that of, well, I could be mean, or I could just be lazy, or I could do this. And he's not, he's a kid. He's 10-year-old. He is those things. He's nobody's
doesn't necessarily
perfect.
prioritize cleanliness as much as an adult, but one day he will.
I mean, it's really rewarding as a dad to see the respect come from him.
Yeah.
The way that I didn't ever wanted to be like, hey, you do this and you respect me. I think a lot of people probably had that. I never had a dad, so I don't know that whole thing.
Oh yeah, respect is you comply with me. You don't talk to me and you don't figure things out. Me. You comply with what I say.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm saying it wrong, but the way that he treats me is amazing, and I think it's just that 10 years of hands-on, one-on-one example, deep conversations, with him that have really starting, and he's 10 now, and he's just getting smarter, and and I just couldn't be more proud of him from the ways that he's handling real world adult even situations.
Right.
And he helps his friends, and he talks to his friends that are 10, and it's just insane.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I just related so hard on that because I remember buying my son, I forget it was like his 12th or 13th birthday. And I mean, I went ham on the gaming console.
Yeah.
Like it's got the clear, it's got all the lights, got all the fans. It's, it's not a liquid cooled. I was like, I don't know how I feel about liquid cooled in his room.
I had to call friends and be like, what is needed in a gaming console?
Right. Which graphics card do I need to go with? Do I need 2 drives? Does it need 3?
Does it
do I
need
need
to be
terabyte?
$1,000 or $5,000? Like,
exactly.
What's the difference?
Yep. Well, and I built his.
Yeah.
I went up to Fry's Electronics.
That's so rad.
Went up to Fry's.
Yeah.
And I'm buying the graphics cards and the coolers and the fans and the lights and all these things. And we put together, which shell are we going to get?
Yep.
And he still jams that thing. And then the Elgato streaming deck, and he had the Yeti Blue mic with
just all out,
with the Logitech.
He has the Ferrari
HD.
of gaming consoles. Yeah.
His monitor is like he's got the
he's got two curved monitors to make one.
Exactly. I forget what the output is. It's like way better than HDMI output, like laser optic output.
No idea.
Anyways. So, and I always was like, you know what? Here's the deal. This is a tool.
Oh, it is.
It's a creative tool. You have a very creative mind. I want you to use your creative mind. But you know what happened recently?
What?
So my son's gotten into lifting, and he wants to be bigger.
Right.
So teenager.
Yeah.
The hormones are raging.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to be a beta male. I'm like, what does that even mean? He's like, I'm not gaming. I'm like, what?
Oh my God.
What do you mean you're not? You love gaming.
Right.
He's like, no,
Not
I'm
anymore.
not going to be a beta. I'm going to be an alpha. I'm like, okay, I'm like, really? You're going to be an alpha? All right. So I invested in that. So what I did is I went and bought a full rack. So we have a rack in my breakfast area here. I'll have to show you. With Olympic bars and Olympic weights and all that. I've got a dumbbell set on its way on the 6th that gets delivered. And so we got him a full rack. And so he asked me, he says, Dad, how do I get big? Like, I want to get big and everything like that. And I said, you got to work out. You got to put in the work and you got to eat. You got to eat a lot.
See, You're a great dad, first of all. Let's everybody
thank
give it up, to know that he's a great dad. It's all investing time, and maybe did you know all about the lifting and like what it takes?
So my background's in training. So I started off as a personal trainer.
Yeah,
and then
perfect. I would have no idea. So it would be if Jayden came to me at 13, 14, whatever, and said, I need to learn how to lift. What do I do? I'm calling you. I'm looking up things.
Absolutely.
I'm doing all the things.
You call me anytime.
I'm friggin',
You're researching.
I mean, and I don't know.
I had to do the same thing. First of all, my son and I figured out Minecraft together. Back in the day, when Minecraft first came out, I was playing it with the kid.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, okay.
I still play it with
How
him.
do we figure it out? Yeah. And we ended up building incredible worlds with roller coasters that went into caves that had we had shelves that had all of our materials. And my little guy, Cohen, he loves Survivor. Like, he doesn't want to play creative.
See, that's
love
two
that.
different.
Yeah, my Cohen
creative only.
Yeah, Sheldon was like, no, we're getting unlimited, and we're just going, basically balls to the wall on creating stuff.
Do you know how long it takes in survival to get one little thing?
But Cohen he loves survival. He loves like having to figure out how we're going to build a camp for the night. What are we going to do to get our resources?
Yeah.
It's a very slow process, but I've come to actually love it.
Yeah.
And whenever Cohen's like, do you want to play creative, Dad? I'm like, I think survival, man.
Yeah,
I want to go. And I've been now on both ends of the spectrum. I started off like, no, totally creative.
Yeah.
It's so much more fun.
Yeah.
And now with Cohen, because that's what he wants to do. And by the way, Cohen would like to go play survival in the real world.
Nice.
This kid literally wants to like
I see your post, man.
Build stuff. Yeah. And we have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It's very small. It's called Go Outside with Cohen.
Nice.
And it was we started it back in during basically COVID, and we haven't been posting very much. But the reason I did it with him is because we were doing so much stuff outside, and this kid was catching like 6-pound bass.
Nice.
And I'd post pictures, and people like, dude, what is that? And I'm like, how is your kid catching this stuff? Here, he's got a snake here. He's got this, that. And I was like, we're going outside.
Exactly.
That's how we're actually getting outdoors.
We're doing stuff.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a channel that inspires other kids because they're watching this stuff. And at the end of the video, we say, hey, Cohen says, don't forget to go outside.
Yeah, that's
like,
awesome.
Kids.
And that's 100%. You are a fantastic dad for doing that because that is a massive source for kids to figure out what they want to do. Mm-hmm. They're seeing it and they're seeing these kids. I want to try that. Hundreds of thousands of times my son's watched a video on something and said, hey, Dad, can we go try this? I'm like, what? What is that?
Something I saw.
Absolutely. Let's go. Figure it out. Let's go. That's amazing.
One of the first things we started doing is because it was during COVID and we couldn't go very far.
Right.
I would just take him around the house and we'd flip over the water spigot things. We'd flip over the rocks. Oh, that's a pill bug. Oh, that's, that's a spider. Oh, wow, a tarantula. We found one. And a snake. This is a round earth snake. This is, this kind of lizard. And it was literally just stuff around the house. And then it got to bigger adventures once we were able to go further.
Right.
And we're going to places like Reimer's Ranch and doing stuff like that. And but back to Sheldon really quick on this one. So he's got all this gaming stuff.
The alpha male.
He's got everything he wants.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be a beta.
Yeah.
So he's got to work out. He's got to lift. He's not as tall as he wants to be. He's like
nobody is
taller. Right.
Nobody, even if you're 6'5".
You're like, I could use a few inches.
Yeah.
All of us guys, we could always use a few inches. So no pun intended. But anyways, so basically, Sheldon comes to me and he asks me, what do I need to do to get big? And I said, okay, so you got to work out and you got to eat. He's like, yeah, I know that. I was like, all right, what I'm about to tell you is not going to be one, what you think, and two, something you're going to want to hear.
I'm going to learn.
And he's like, okay. And I was like, I'm actually kind of nervous to tell you. And he's like, why? And I'm like, I just kind of feel a little nervous because I feel like you're going to be like, no, And he's like, what is it, Dad? And he kind of closes his eyes, what is it? And I was like, you got to give up the computer. And he's like, what? And I was like, that computer, you get home from school.
Right.
And when you're not working, you slide into the desk. And once you're there, you're stopped.
Right.
And I was like, if you give up that computer, will put in the work.
It's that routine.
It's literally the
You know?
routine. And I know you want to use the computer. And he goes, it's okay. I'm giving it to you.
Nice.
I was like, whoa.
Nice.
I was like, way to commit,
right?
bro. I didn't even get to finish selling it. He's like,
Right.
I'm in.
All right, cool. Take it.
So anyways, he turned over his computer the other day.
Wow.
And has he been lifting? Absolutely. The kid's been
Nice.
lifting a couple hours a night. So we actually, him and I are set up to work out this evening at 5.
See,
as soon as he gets
how
out
old
of
is he
school.
again?
16.
That's so rad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's the dream, right? Your child wants to do things with you.
Absolutely.
Your child looks to you for guidance.
And when they're not, you gotta go in there and try to figure out what they like.
Exactly.
Try to develop a relationship.
Like I said,
My kids are different today.
Exactly.
You know, one's
and
an
they'll be
outdoors
different
kid.
next. You know.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
And they're in seasons too.
Of course. You've got it. You have to adapt with your kid, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think so. Unless you want to be, if they want to be Olympic runner, okay, run every day or whatever. Train specifically on running. Or I'm just using that as an example. Jayden has been through so many phases already, and you just have to go with those phases, no matter what it is. Support him in those phases, whatever it is.
One thing I'm trying to teach him now too is, if you start something, like I want him to, because I don't want him to be a fair weather kind of
right, like
hobbyist.
Do stuff and then not really take it seriously.
Yeah, I'm like, and I read this in Grit, Angela Duckworth. She's like talking about how she does it with her family. It's like, you start something, you got to commit for the season.
Right.
Like we're going for a season.
Right.
You don't get to quit in the middle of the season. Now, at the end of it, if you're like, yeah, that wasn't really for me.
Exactly.
You don't have to go next year.
Exactly.
But you got to keep with it.
Of course.
And it's kind of, that's something that I've been working on with both of them is like, okay, because with Cohen, for example, for him, it's like, he wants to buy me these Pokemon cards. And I'm like, okay, how, and he gets a small allowance, and it's not related to chores, although he does chores. We call those family contributions.
Right.
It's not related to that. But he gets a small allowance to practice spending, saving, and investing.
Oh God, don't even get started.
I can't wait to get you started now.
He just, it blows your mind. Like I said, kids these days, they're different. Jayden is on Roblox. I'm sure you've heard of Roblox. Okay.
Totally.
Do you know that Roblox...
Is that a Steam game or...
No, it's an online game.
Okay.
But it's essentially, and I'm just now realizing this in the past few months, Roblox has items. Tell me if you know what this kind of sounds like.
I know what Fortnite. I know my son buys the skins.
But if this item is 400 Robux, which Robux is real money from me.
It's $4 from you, 400 Robux or whatever.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Whatever that conversion is.
These items are limited items, right? They're going to be limited or whatever it is.
Forever?
Do you know that Roblox is a stock market or a crypto, essentially? They are buying items at a certain price.
These are like little NFTs?
No, these are items that you can wear on your character or a hat or glasses.
And can they appreciate?
There's a whole world of ins and outs of what is about to go to a limited status. So you could have bought this pair of glasses for 100 Robux.
For your character.
100 Robux. Nothing. You could earn these. Sometimes maybe they're free. Whatever it is. Somebody somewhere has some information that this item is about to be 10,000 to 100,000 Robux because this one person deemed it so. If you have that item, you can sell it at this price, and then boom, in your Robux account, you have 10,000 Robux when you spent 200. So that's what my son likes to do is trade.
Yeah.
It's a crypto, essentially.
I love it.
It blows my mind. And so he uses that information with real world money.
That's amazing. My son did, so he owns, I think Sheldon probably owns like 100 Fortnite accounts.
Yeah.
He buys them all the time and sells them and stuff.
Yeah.
But, at one point I asked him, how much of your money have you, because my son has a job too. He's old enough now.
Nice.
But how much of your money have you spent on Fortnite skin?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah.
Like all of it.
I'm like, ooh. I'm like, and so how much is that appreciating?
Right.
Just or how much depreciation does it have?
Right.
He's like, most of it's like 100%. I'm like, 100% depreciation. So it's worth nothing.
Right.
He's
Yeah, yeah.
like, yeah, some of them, Dad. I'm like, all right, how, like, when we're trying to sell them, what's the percentage on that? He's like,
Right.
I mean, there's a handful of them that definitely are
That's
like
awesome.
rare, you know, and
Yeah.
you could sell them online. It's like that. I was like, so you're going to sell them to get your money back, right? He's like, I kind of like them, Dad. I'm like,
keep them.
okay, I get it. I mean, my Rolex is appreciated, but I'm
Right.
not trying to sell it right now. But at the same time, I'm kind of like going, okay, let me ask you a question. And I said, this is what I told him is I said, hold out your hands. And we had this like experiment with, and I said, I'm going to give you invisible money. And in one hand, you're going to have your car and a future business or some side hustle that you're wanting to invest in. Okay. In the other hand, you're going to have Fortnite skins. So I'm going to hand you the money and you get to pick which hand it goes in
Right.
every time I hand you the money.
Right.
And I said, now where's it going? He's like, this one. And I'm like, so every single time I handed you invisible money, it went to the car and a future side hustle. But every time I hand you real money, it goes to Fortnite skins. He's like, yeah, that's a little backwards. I was like, yeah, let's
Rethinking this.
He's like, yeah, I'll give up the computer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's amazing, man. He's 16, and so he's already got all this knowledge, and obviously an awesome dad to like help him figure out, you know, how to get ahead. And that's essentially what I realized very early on with Jayden. I was like, I need to help him get ahead in life the way and set him up and, you know, instill processes in him that are really going to benefit him as he gets older. Like I said, 10 going on 25. You know, he's on Duolingo all the time, just trying to figure out. He wants to move to Japan.
Awesome.
I was like, well, if you're going to move to Japan, we're going to need this, your Roth IRA or whatever account. You know, it's good.
Right,
It's good.
right.
He knows all these things, right? So he asked me. He's 10, going on 25, asking me about what's a good investment type thing, you know. And he's like, I'm like, if you want to go to China or to Tokyo, that's where he wants to move. I'm like, well, you need to speak fluent. I'm like, 100%. He's like, we'll go, but we need you to learn. I'll try and learn with you, but this is you. He wants to go to school there. All these
Now,
things.
do they speak Mandarin? I don't even know what they speak.
I mean,
but
I don't.
I know in China they speak Mandarin.
Yeah. I don't know.
I went to China and nobody spoke English. It was,
Yeah, that's
it
what-
was,
so-
it was like
yeah.
I've heard Japan's much better about this, but China, they were like
Japan, I've never been, but my partner, she has been all over the world, and she was telling Jayden, and he realized, thank God I have her, you know, to kind of have my back on a lot of these things, where he'll listen to me, but then if she's in the room,
Yeah,
who's been
he
all
needs
over
a
the
second
world,
opinion.
but she has like the opinion,
yeah,
you
the
know,
experience
he's like,
opinion.
okay, Dad,
she knows.
she's been there, and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And so she straight up, she's like, if you don't speak the language, it's going to be a lot harder for you, and people will take advantage
Totally.
of you, all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
What does he do? Doesn't even finish the thought, goes into his
Duolingo.
room, gets on his spaceship of his, you know, studio.
Yeah.
Starts learning. You know, he's
That's
just immediate.
great.
He's ready. So it's all about those process, and you won't have those. This kid's, a lot of his friends, they don't have, their routine is straight to the computer, repeat school. You handle, you know, you put them in school, and then they learn what they learn, and then you come home, and then they game and or whatever it is that they do, and you can tell because I'm online with him playing. You know, whenever he gets online, I'm like, "What? Play with you?" He's like, "Dad, you want to play?" We're that close. Absolutely. Get online with all his friends. We're all doing all this stuff, and his friends are, you know, they're more focused on trash talking and like whatever than enjoying playing the game. Like some of them just get on there just to talk shit. Just, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God. And Jayden's like, I don't have time for this. Okay. And he's out. You know, he's like, dude, that's big. That's big. That's, you know, cyberbullying defeated, right?
Yep.
10 years old, figured it out. Stuff like that. And it's just about, for me personally, I love him with all my heart. And I'm not going to be able to protect him from the world, but I am going to do my absolute damnedest to just set him up for the next step, because there's always going to be one. Yours is 16. He's, you know, no beta, right?
Next year he's going to be 18, which is crazy to think
yeah,
about, because
okay,
he turned 17. Well, no, he's 16 now.
Okay. Oh,
That's
gotcha.
That's what you got to be careful about with parenting.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, he's 16. It's like, no, he's turning 18 next year. The reason is his birthday's in October. So we're 1 month away from his 17th birthday. And so
then-
next year he's 18. So right now he's 16.
Right.
And it's easy to be like, he's a 16-year-old.
Right, yeah.
Next year he's 18. And that's how quick it happens.
Yeah, man. Oh, it's like blinked and he was 4 years old.
Right.
You know?
So, it's funny. So, all right. I'm gonna wrap us up here. This has been so awesome. We're gonna
absolutely.
We're gonna have to do a number 2, but
I'm down.
Also know that you have a very busy schedule, and you
I do.
took your time. You took your time to be with us today. I'm so appreciative. What I'm taking away from this is so much as like, one, time is the best gift.
It is, yeah.
Give it to your kids. If you don't like spending time with them, model what it looks like to repair and to make those changes. Try an implementation intention. Notice when you're feeling triggered.
All sorts of things. There's so many things that you can work on just to be a little bit more present than you were last week or the week before. If your kids are, I'm not an expert. You have so much more education and that's why it's very important these podcasts and the groups and I saw the upcoming meeting where announced for dads. I'm 100% in.
I love it.
Like,
thank you.
It's just amazing to learn other people's, because everybody lives a different life. Everybody's got their own issues and stories and things, but if we can kind of provide some insight for kids, that's our world, man.
Absolutely.
And so I'm super pumped.
Yeah, man. So develop a relationship. If you don't have an amazing one with your kids already, just take the time to get to know them, get to know their interests, support their interests.
Absolutely.
Jonathan, thank you so much for being here today, brother.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
I'll get to see you again very soon.
Yeah,
and
looking forward to.
We'll have to get Jayden and Cohen and the kids together and
100%
fun.
Fun fact: I told Jayden, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to do this podcast." He's like, "That's awesome. You'd be great at that." And I was like, "Awesome. First of all, thanks for the appreciation."
Nice.
And he goes, "Can I come?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Well, I mean, don't they want to hear my perspective?" And I was like, "What?"
Yes, we do.
Gnarly, right?
Yes.
So I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. But he was super excited that I was coming here, and I told everybody else, and they're like, "Wow, I can't wait to hear what you have to say," and all sorts of stuff. So thanks so much.
Let's get Jayden on. It would be super cool to do a 4-way action.
Yeah.
And get Cohen and Jayden on with you and I, or even Sheldon. Either way, probably to start with Sheldon.
Here's what's going to happen. He's going to see you as he'll be like, he'll say, "Dad, let him talk." I'm like, okay. But we are best friends where we give each other hard times, you know, and we're there for the hard times, the good times, and the silly times and stuff like that. And
no, I love that, man.
And it wouldn't be
it
that.
Means you have trust.
I mean,
he can tell you, he can shoot you straight.
He really
and vice
can.
versa.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
It is pretty rad. Awesome.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, like this podcast, and share it with your friends and family. And in the meantime, we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Awesome.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you've received some value from it, please share it with other dads and consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform, and we'll see you in the next episode. Looking for support with your fatherhood journey? Go to bedadly.com and take our Dadly Disposition quiz and learn helpful insights on how you can overcome power struggles with your kids.